My name is Finn Morgan, and I am interviewing Dr. Monie on March 30th, 2017. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day and agreeing to speak with me today. How are you connected with the local community?
Well, when I was 2 years old, my family moved to Cooperstown, originally to the Fly Creek area. And that's my parents and my older brother. And I went to the school here, graduated from Cooperstown High School, and my parents have lived here ever since. And after college, I moved around a little bit, but then after I had my first son, which is Finn, we moved back to Cooperstown to be part of the wonderful close-knit community here and to be close to family. And let's see, ever since we moved back, we've been a part of the school system, obviously, with 2 kids. And I taught at the high school for a while, and I now work at Bassett.
Do you have any experiences that involve Otsego Lake? If so, what?
I have many experiences that involve Otsego Lake. So obviously, growing up here as a kid, I played a lot in the lake, both at, the parks around the lake, like Glimmerglass and 3 Mile, and Ferry Springs, and the lakefront. Kids used to swim off the docks at the lakefront back then. I don't know if they still do.
No.
And my favorite place in Cooperstown is actually down by Council Rock at the lakefront. And I really like photography, so I've taken many, many pictures of the lake over the years. And I also, when I was in high school, I worked at the Biological Field Station doing a research project about streams carrying pollutants and runoff into the lake and how that impacted the lake. And actually, one of the first things I did when I moved back to Cooperstown was did a teaching fellowship associated with the Chesapeake Bay, and part of that was to study Otsego Lake, which is, of course, the source of the Susquehanna River that empties into the Chesapeake Bay. And we studied zebra mussels and the concentration of zebra mussels all around the lake. So we would take the boat out and we would collect water samples at lots of spots all over the lake and see how many zebra mussels and the baby zebra mussels that we could find at each spot. When I worked on the lake when I was in high school, we also did lots of studies like that. We would sometimes go to the part of the lake by the golf course and dive and retrieve golf balls. But we would also do that while we were doing underwater fish surveys, so counting the number and different types of fish we saw. And we would also do sampling all over the lake. And I remember one day we were out in a boat. These are little metal boats right down in the water. And this terrible storm came up very quickly. So we were stuck out in this metal boat in the middle of the lake during a thunder and lightning storm. But and our motor broke down. But we got rescued by the sheriff's boat who towed us in. So that was exciting. And I also remember a lot of the boat parades on the lake growing up. And when the summer I worked at the field station, we were a part of the parade, and we also helped out with the lake cleanup day. And I remember on lake cleanup day, right next to the road that goes along, let's see, I guess that's on the west side of the lake, we found this poor little baby kitten that looked like it had fallen down the road and was stuck on the cliff by the lake. So we rescued it and took it to the SPCA. And then I remember, and I don't know exactly when this was and all the circumstances around it, but so we were still living out in Fly Creek, and I happened to be home alone that day. My parents were out somewhere and my brother was out somewhere. And it was one of the first times I'd been left home on my own, so I was fairly young and still a little uncertain about being on my own. And all of a sudden I heard this huge explosion. Like it rattled the windows, it was so loud. And I looked outside, I looked all around, couldn't figure out what had happened. Well, come to find out, about a week later, I read in the paper that they had found a bomb at the bottom of Otsego Lake that was still live, so it could still explode. And they took it to the airfield that's up above, the house in Fly Creek, to explode it safely with nobody around. But they didn't warn people that they were doing it, so it scared a bunch of people that lived around the area.
What is your most favorite memory of your life in this community?
My favorite memory?
Yeah.
There's so many good memories. That's hard to pick just one.
This one I didn't choose. I didn't.
All right.
There are some that are.
Let's see. Well, last summer, I thought it was a pretty nice memory when the four of us hiked up to Starfield on that beautiful fall day. And it was all sunny, and you were catching grasshoppers, and I was taking pictures of all the pretty leaves and the lake. And Lachlan was wrestling with Daddy in the grass. That was a good memory. And also, of course, Lachlan was born here in Bassett Hospital. So that was a good memory, too.
I know you did research on Otsego Lake, but what are your 5 most favorite facts you learned?
About Otsego Lake?
Yeah.
My 5 most favorite facts. Well, when I was first learning about the lake, I didn't understand that there are layers in the lake. So I thought it was really cool to learn that there are actual layers and they don't mix very much. So there are a certain temperature and certain animals and plants live in each layer and don't mix that much. But then in the spring and fall, when there's extreme temperature changes, it churns up the lake and the layers can mix. Let's see, so 5, that's 1. 2, Sunken Island. Oh, I didn't mention, when I was growing up, my best friend's family had a sailboat. So we would go out sailing on the lake, which was really fun. But one time we ran aground on Sunken Island, and that was hard to get unstuck from. So, finding out, I guess the second fact would be finding out about Sunken Island. Third fact would be, I didn't realize there was a swamp down at the northern end of the lake, Goodyear Swamp. That's a cool little place to explore. Four would probably be about the zebra mussels. We were able to keep them out of the lake longer than most lakes in this area, which was pretty good conservation efforts. But it's sad when they did finally make it into the lake. And we were able to tell by the concentrations of the zebra mussels and where they were most concentrated, probably where they were introduced. And it was, at the hotels. There's a hotel boat launch site. So it wasn't at the public launch sites. And number 5 would be a more recent fact in that there's now a pair of bald eagles that live on the lake. And we found their nest. Daddy and I found their nest kayaking last summer and saw them. That was cool.
What is your favorite memory of doing your research?
Of doing my research?
Yeah.
Well, there are lots of fun times. I'd say the most memorable thing was when I was collecting samples. When I was collecting samples from a stream, and I was standing on a rock, and the rock tipped, and I went head first into the freezing cold water, and then screamed and jumped around, and then the rock fell down onto my leg and fell onto my foot, pinning me in the water. I actually still have a scar from that on my leg. But luckily I was with somebody else, so they helped me get out. So the trials and tribulations of ecological scientists. So that might have been my least favorite memory. My favorite memory was probably the whole staff of the research. The biological field station would go down onto the barge, which is the big boat. You've been on the barge, right? Mm-hmm. With your classes and in science camp. And we'd have lunch on the barge every day and hang out and go swimming and talk about what research and what we learned. That's actually another memory that I didn't talk about. Was I was a counselor at science camp. I was a counselor at science camp for summer, and so I was counselor at the science camp one summer with Mr. Science, and every week we would take the students out on the barge to teach them about lake ecology and how to collect samples, and then we'd go back to the lab and look at things in the microscope.
Are there any other cool facts you learned during your research you would like to share with me?
That's a good question. I think I talked a lot about the research already. What do you think? Is there anything else you wanted to find out?
No, not really. But with that, what is your favorite animal lives at Otsego Lake?
Probably the bald eagles.
How does it contribute to its ecosystem?
Well, how am I supposed to answer that? So, if we get technical here, right, it's a top predator, so it can help keep rodent populations in check. Can eat fish. And it's nice to see, because when I was young, there weren't bald eagles anywhere because pollution destroyed all the eagles' eggshells and none of the babies survived. So there's a whole generation of lost bald eagles. So it's nice to see they've recovered now. That we're getting better about taking care of our environment.
Okay. What do you love about Otsego Lake?
It's a beautiful lake. It's nice that there's been more conservation efforts at Otsego Lake than a lot of other lakes in New York, so you can tell there's not as much development. The biological field station helps really measure it and try to, that together with a lot of other groups like ACA and the Otsego Land Trust and all of those other conservation groups, really try to keep the lake not polluted and try to keep invasive species out, and try to take care of the lake.
What inspired you to do research on Otsego Lake?
I love biology. I love the lake. So put those two things together and you pretty much have my ideal summer job.
What is your favorite memory of playing in Otsego Lake as a child?
Probably playing at Glimmerglass. Oh, I know. So my best friend who lived just down the road, we would play a lot together at the lake, and particularly at Glimmerglass. And we had a tree that was our favorite tree. It was a willow tree. And it was this huge old willow tree that hung over the water of the lake. So you could climb up the tree and way out to the top so that you were about 10 feet over the water, out over the water. But you were in the middle of the tree, so you're just surrounded. It was like your own little private world, surrounded by the leaves, but still being able to see the lake. It was great. So we have a painting of that scene that I got from her. That is of a willow tree, like sitting in a willow tree over a lake.
What did you do for entertainment as a child?
I lived in Fly Creek. Is this specifically about the lake or about anything?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say one of two things. So I lived in Fly Creek, and the kids in the neighborhood, we would just go disappear in the woods. Our parents would have no idea where we were. We would disappear for hours at a time, sometimes the entire day on the weekend, just playing in the woods. We'd make forts, we'd go hiking, we'd explore. We had nature journals that we kept tracking of stuff in. We had all sorts of adventures. And then I'd say the other major thing was hanging out at the gym and playing at the gym, which was what I did most days after school.
Okay. What do you do for entertainment nowadays?
Well, what do we do for entertainment? We just got a boat last summer, So that's nice to be able to spend time on that in the summer. We do a lot of tubing in the winter and hiking all year round. Yeah.
I know you worked at your dad's bookstore as a child, but what is your favorite memory of working there?
Well, it's funny. So you say my dad's bookstore as if it were a single place, but actually my dad's bookstore during my childhood was 3 different places. He started with just the bookstore in the basement of our house in Flight Creek. And then he bought a place down an alley off of Pioneer Street, where he had the bookstore for a while before he ended up in the location where he is today, on Main Street. So, what was my favorite? I actually only worked in the bookstore until about 7th or 8th grade, and then both my dad and I thought it was important that I get other work experience. So I worked at the cider mill, I worked in stores around the town, worked at the biological field station one summer. Working in the bookstore is interesting because you see all these cool books and get your first choice of the books you want as they come in, as Dad buys them. But it's also a really cool place to meet cool people and to talk with them about all of the interesting places where they came from and why they're here. So there are a lot of cool people that come to Cooperstown, and they end up at the bookstore. So it's a good place to meet people.
How has Cooperstown changed in your lifetime?
It's changed quite a bit. I would say in good ways and in bad ways. I would say when I was young, Main Street looked a lot different. There are a lot more different types of stores, so they weren't all baseball stores. So I really liked that. There was a really cool toy store where Blondie's dad owned. You know, Blondie, the rock star. So I used to go in there a lot. We had a real movie theater, so that was nice, right on Main Street. I did actually work there one summer too, after it got changed over to like a baseball store. It showed baseball movies, so I worked there for a little while. Some things I really like, some new things I like about Cooperstown are, I think the kid garden is a great addition, and in the summer really brings a lot of the community together to help take care of it while the school is out of session. And my favorite event in Cooperstown every year is the fall harvest dinner, where it's the big potluck dinner on Main Street. I think that's a great community event. But I will say I miss Pumpkin Fest. That was my overall favorite Cooperstown event. Remember that?
Yeah.
With the
huge pumpkins.
Yeah.
And the pumpkin canoe race.
Yeah, the canoe regatta, pumpkin regatta. That was awesome.
How do you feel about those changes?
Well, like I said, I think some are good and some are not so good. I think it's hard to have Main Street be almost all baseball and tourist related things, because then they shut down in the off season, and then there's not that much to do, and there's not many people coming into the downtown area, which hurts the town economy and business. But I think that the, community has gotten closer in other ways as well, and, really taking care of the environment, and like I said, the community dinners, and, I didn't mention the farmers market. I think that's a great addition as well, that really brings people together in a place to meet and get together on weekends and support local farmers. So that's all great.
As we were coming to the end of our time together, I just have 2 more questions. What words of wisdom or advice would you give to young people today?
In Cooperstown?
Yeah.
I would say be curious and enjoy every minute that you can. There's a lot, you look around at both adults and kids today and you see them staring at their screens, either a TV screen or a phone screen or their tablet screen, and they aren't really interacting together as people, and that connection is really important. It used to be you'd walk down the sidewalk and everyone would be looking up and would say hi to each other, at the very least say hi to each other. Sometimes stop and chat and talk and hang out for a while. Nowadays, I walk down the sidewalk, and especially with younger kids, they don't even look at you. They don't even make eye contact. Whereas, that used to be a chance to be friendly and to learn something cool about the other people that you live with in the same community. So maybe that would be some advice too, is to, this is a cool place with a lot of cool people and a cool community, so really take advantage of that and get to know people and do things with people and stop staring at your screen and be creative and get out and enjoy the beautiful nature that we have here, both the lake and the woods.
Is there anything else that you would like us to know about your life growing up in this community? If so, what?
Well, I came back, so I obviously liked it here. And I obviously enjoyed my childhood here because I thought it would be the best place to raise my own children. Is that it?
Yeah. Thank you again for coming to share your amazing stories.